Oh, hello there. I didn't see you walk in. So I wanted to talk about Junji Ito's cat diary, Yon and Mu. Yon and Mew? I don't know which one's right. I looked up Yon and it was the number 4 in Japanese and everyone was saying Yon. So I've been pronouncing it wrong for like 3 years now. I've been pronouncing it Yon, and that's stupid. I was like, look at me, I'm not stupid. I don't want to be caught pronouncing letters wrong. For those woefully unaware, Junji Ito is a phenomenal manga artist. He does horror stuff, basically. That's what he does, basically, it's horror stuff. Sometimes it's gross, sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's weird. Usually it's funny. Or I won't say usually, because he does have some kind of actually disturbing stuff, but a lot of the time it is kind of goofy and silly, and it's fun. But he's one of those artists whose work I always have to check out, because I've read stuff from him that is absolutely phenomenal and just fantastic, and I've also read stuff from him that is I hate it. I didn't enjoy it. But at the end of the day, no one does manga quite like Junji Ito, and I am certainly a fan. So I remember finding out a couple years ago that Junji Ito did a book about his cats, and it's the best thing from him. It's like my favorite thing. I won't say it's the best thing from him, but it's certainly my favorite work of his. And I think the premise of it is just brilliant, because it's this guy who does horror, and then he just is writing a nice little slice of life story about his cats, and it really is that simple. There's like nothing else going on. It's just him recounting stories about him and his wife and their 2 cats, Yon and Mew, or Yon and Mu, however you say it. Yon and Mu is what we're sticking with. So if I'm wrong, then I'm sorry to Mu, or Mew, whatever. What am I sticking with? If you look at the back of the book, it says, "Hello, Kitty," which of course is a reference to Hello Kitty, the famous cartoon. But it's also a reference to hell. So this book is absolutely hilarious. It's one of the funniest books like I've read in a long time, and I've read it probably 3 or 4 times now, and it just never gets old. There's just so much to love about it, and I've recommended it to people. I've like given my copy to at least 2 people, and they've loved it. And I don't even think you have to be all that fond of cats to enjoy it. I don't think you have to have enjoyed Junji Ito's previous work to like this book. It is kind of a novelty in the sense that it is a slice of life story drawn by a horror artist. And so what that means is that you have these pages that, they're just showcasing normal everyday scenes, but they look like they're straight out of The Shining or some bull crap like that. Or maybe not The Shining, but Misery or something, I don't know, whatever. We're not talking about Stephen King, we're talking about Junji Ito. King is out, Ito's in, let's go. But yeah, there are just all these pages that, they shouldn't be drawn like this. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it funny, is the fact that they're normal everyday occurrences, but they look spooky. Things look like monsters. Cats look like psychopaths. Junji Ito is the main character, right? And he draws himself as a weirdo, and he makes some faces that no human should ever be seen making. And so it makes me wonder if he's some kind of eldritch entity. He's something straight out of the Necronomicon. And then Junji Ito draws his wife horribly as well. It's not horrible, it's great art, but he turns her into a strange creature as well, because half the time she doesn't have pupils, and so she looks like some kind of demon lady that he's married to, and so that probably didn't do anything good for their marriage, but I appreciate his sacrifice, because it made me laugh, and it probably made some other people laugh, and so if his marriage is in shambles because of it, then it was 100% worth it. So yeah, right away it's established that Yon has a cursed face, and I've never seen a cat before with a cursed face, because I don't think cats have cursed faces. I don't think that's a thing. That's not a normal thing to think that a cat has a cursed face. But Junji Ito does. He thinks that this cat has a cursed face. And it's just funny. It's silly. And I feel like that's not really an appropriate thing to say about any living creature. If you're ever on a date, just tell the person, hey, I think you have a cursed face, and I find that attractive. You can work it into a good pickup line too. You can be like, hey girl, I like your cursed face. Why don't you come over here and look at my cursed face, and we can look at our cursed faces together, or something like that. As you can see, I got that W-Riz, as the kids would say, or something. I don't really understand the entire concept of Riz, but I thought it was Ritz whenever people were saying it. I thought that when they were talking about Riz, I thought they were talking about Ritz crackers. I just was like, this is a really weird commercial. But because of the fact that Junji Ito thinks that his cat has a cursed face, you have some really just brilliant moments. One of my favorites is when Eiko, who's Junji Ito's wife, comes in and tells Junji Ito, there's something wrong with Yon. And Junji Ito goes, what, is he cursing us? And I'm like, what a completely normal way to respond to such a statement. And this book is funny because it is slice of life, it is grounded, but like I said, it is drawn by a horror artist, and so you just end up with some real weird looking stuff. And I love it. I love it. I'm not saying weird in a bad way. I'm saying weird as in unique. See, and I have these notes. I mean, there's nothing here that I'm looking at. But anyways, as I'm looking at it, half the freaking page is just me writing down when there's a weird looking face. So for instance, page 21, page 22, page 49, and I said this was a good profile picture. Page 52, page 55, page 57, 65, 66 has two faces that I considered weird. 77, 78, 96, 108. And there are more weird looking faces, but that is far and away my favorite thing about the work, I think, is just the fact that everyone looks like a psychopath. Everyone looks like a monster, some grotesque creature. No one looks human. And it's fantastic. And this book is a comedic masterpiece, as I said in the title. And some of my favorite instances to showcase this are as follows. At one point, Junji Ito is hallucinating because he's been staying up late trying to finish a manga. And it's funny because I wonder if it's this manga that he was trying to stay up to finish. Junji Ito starts hallucinating his cats as different things. So he like walks into the room and he's like, oh, why is there an old man watching our TV? And then he's like, oh, it's just Yon. And I'm like, what a completely reasonable thing to do, to hallucinate that your cat is an old man. And then on the very next page, there's this like weird face. It's giving me weird vibes. I don't know how to feel about it. One of the major plot threads in this book is Junji Ito trying to get his cats to like him because they don't like him. They like Eiko, his wife. And so the cats will suckle on Eiko's fingers, and Junji Ito wants the cats to suckle on his fingers. And I can't help but feel that this is a little bit kinky. This is a little bit... There's something. I've never wanted a cat to suckle on my finger, but you know, I am a cat, and so because of that, I've never really wanted to suckle on anyone's finger because that's weird. What a weird, disgusting thing to do. There's a chapter where Mu has to get castrated, and there's a part where I think it's Eiko says, wow, I hope the procedure went well. And it's like, wow, do you think they're not going to chop his nuts off? Do you think that he's going to end up with 3 nuts or something? Like, how is the procedure not going to go well? But I mean, from the cat's perspective, I don't think that there's ever a way that getting your nuts chopped off can be a good procedure. I don't think that can ever go well. And I am saying that as a cat who has been castrated. Meow. In this book, they do something weird in between chapters, which is they have question and answers with Junji Ito, where an editor asks a question and then Junji Ito answers, because that's what a question and answer session is. I don't know why I explained it. It's literally self-explanatory in the name, and I'm sorry for wasting everyone's time. But there's a question, it's question 6, where his editor found out that Junji Ito had gotten cats, and he thought that Junji Ito had drawn some cats very well in previous mangas. And then this editor went, Junji Ito, you have to draw a cat manga. And I think that Junji Ito is probably a very nice man because of the fact that the editor said, Junji Ito, you draw cats well. Junji Ito's response was, I was in awe at my editor's keen insight. What a keen insight. Hey bud, you have a cat, you should draw a cat manga. Incredible. There's a part with fake poop. I don't know why, but Junji Ito finds fake poop hilarious. This is not even the first story of his to have fake poop or to be about fake poop. I don't know. What am I doing? I'm sitting in front of a green screen talking about fake poop. This is not the way I envisioned my life would go. And I'm dressed like a cat too. I'm not even, this is real life. There's a lot of cat butts also. I don't know why he went into such detail, but and there's a lot of poop too. Why is there's a part where it says, sometimes he drags around turds that got tangled in his fur. And there's a turd tangled in his fur. Why, Junji Ito? Why did you feel the need to include this? But I love this book for a number of reasons. One of which is that it's just so cool to see someone who is so steeped in one genre, particularly horror, stepping out of it and going off and doing something else. Because again, this is not a horror manga. It's drawn like a horror manga at times, but at its core, it's just a nice little story about his cats. And I think that's what makes it special and enjoyable, is just that fact. The fact that it's him doing something new. And it's really cool to see that. It's really cool to see anytime an artist or any kind of creative person steps out of their comfort zone and does something that is completely original. And I love that. I love it when that happens. And I think that oftentimes artists and creative folks and whatever are not rewarded whenever they experiment or they do something that is out of the ordinary, or out of their ordinary, I should say. Sometimes it pays off big. Sometimes it's a huge thing and their out of the ordinary becomes their ordinary because it is so big. But I wish that we saw more people doing this. I wish we saw more people giving new weird things a shot because it's special. Nothing like it existed before it existed. Nothing like Junji Ito's Cat Diary, Yon and Moo existed before Junji Ito Cat Diary, Yon and Moo. I'm having a stroke. So Junji Ito thinks this cat has a cursed face? Well, he hasn't seen the one on my debit card. And yeah, this is an actual picture of my debit card. It has the dumbest looking cat I could find. I was gonna pick something cool. I was gonna pick a color or like a wolf because you had a limited number of options. And so I scrolled down and then I saw that dumb looking cat. Every time I open my wallet, it makes me laugh because it's dumb looking. I showed it to my buddy who has cats and he was like, this is not even the dumbest looking cat. Like, it looks normal to me. And I'm like, bro, you're tripping. This is dumb. This cat going like this. You guys can't see because of my sunglasses. I mean, my eyes. I'm like Adam Jensen from Deus Ex and the sunglasses are part of my face now. But one thing this book highlights that I think is really special is the fact that horror and comedy are actually very closely related. I think they're kind of built around a lot of the same concepts. Both in horror and in comedy, you need your timing to be right and you have to set things up properly. You have to set up the punchline properly. And the punchline to a joke is obviously the thing that makes everyone laugh. The punchline to horror is the thing that makes everyone scared. And I don't know if there's a name for it, but there is oftentimes a moment where it's like peak scariness, where it's built up like a roller coaster. You're going up, and then you hit the peak, and then it's like, boo, a big scare. And so I think whether or not people realize that horror and comedy are closely related, but I'm not gonna turn the video into that. Maybe another day where I'm dressed up like a different animal, but not today. Today's cat day. But this book is great because it's like, there's not much of a story, I guess. There's a series of scenes, but it feels like a series of connected short stories. It doesn't feel like there's an overarching plot aside from Junji Ito and his wife have cats. Because of that, it's actually kind of light reading and it's silly, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's short, it's like 100 and something pages, and it doesn't need to be any longer. To my knowledge, Junji Ito has never done a sequel to this, and I don't believe he has any plans to, and that's perfectly fine. I don't think everything needs sequels. I don't think everything needs some kind of continuation. Just a nice story about his cats is wonderful. And I'm really appreciative to him for doing this because it's weird. It's weird to do a story about your cats, but it's just delightful. It's just delightful and it's just really fun to read. And so I highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. And by the way, at the end, nothing bad ever happens, and just the end of the story is that the cats live happily ever after. And nothing bad ever happened again. So I think that's about all I have to say about Junji Ito's Cat Diary, Yon and Moo. I know it's not. I know that I have other stuff to say because I always record these videos and then like 2 hours later, I'm like, oh crap, I meant to say that. But for now, it's all I can think of. I did want to say that like comic books and manga are like super important to me and I love them a lot. But I realized this, that I've done like 30 videos, like 31, 32 videos. And there's only been one about any kind of manga before this one, which was about another Junji Ito story, Black Paradox. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, have I not done more stories about like manga or comics? Because I love them. And so it was a shock for me to realize that. And so I say that to say this, I guess I'm doing more comic book and manga related stuff in the future. I'm gonna make a bigger point to do it. So thank you for watching, and meow, 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 meow.